Good evening, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back. This is News in Focus. My name is Faraz Patel. Jazakallah so much for staying with us. Yesterday, we saw the official expulsion of former President Jacob Zuma from the African National Congress. It has been something that has been building up to this moment. At the start of the year, the ANC, right before its 112th anniversary, had said that the party would be looking to discipline its former president for, of course, starting the Umkhonto weSizwe party. Dare I say, that very same party went ahead and took quite a lot of the votes this year to make them the third largest party in the country, and with the government of national unity being formed, the official opposition in the National Assembly. The question we ask ourselves is, how and why did it take the ANC so long in making this decision? Was it because it was focusing on campaigning? Or were there other real reasons with regards to this? Joining me now, I'd like to welcome a veteran of the African National Congress, Omry Makgoale. Mr. Makgoale, good day. Thank you so much for joining us here on News in Focus.
Thank you for the opportunity to Hilaal TV and to you, Faraz.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. Mr. Makgoale, the first question, I think, the timing of everything. Did the African National Congress make the right decision in its timing, in taking its time, in terms of the expulsion of former President Zuma?
I wouldn't say, it's not the best timing. It should have been done 6 months ago, it should have been done earlier than now. Now it's too late. The damage is already seriously done in terms of how we got here with the elections. We lost more than 2 million votes because of this delayed decision. And I would say a decision is it's long overdue. It should have been done 6 months ago. The ANC has actually suffered because of this delayed decision. But it's Luthuli House, the head office, that has not acted promptly in many of these things.
But here's the thing, Mr. Makgoale. Fears of the 2021 unrest now come into play. So we saw what happened, of course, at the Escort Magistrates Court or the Eskom Correctional Services, where leading up to his release, everyone saw what had happened 3 years ago. Would you not say that those fears came into play before a comprehensive disciplinary hearing happened? And I'm going to touch on, of course, the request for it to be virtual or for it to be physical. But do you not think that looking at that unrest, the ANC and its NDC were thinking, we need to play our cards right to make sure that something like this does not end up happening again?
Yeah, look, I think the ANC would not have, wished to have another riot similar to 2021. And now would not have wished for that. So the Luthuli House and the disciplinary committee had to take that into cognizance that they must avoid that. And this is why I say he should have been expelled more than 6 months ago. But for now, they couldn't have him. To have him there coming to Luthuli House with his supporters to come and camp at Luthuli House around the areas, and it was not going to be helpful to the ANC in any way. So it's okay that it was done virtually. If he has any case to answer to, if he has anything to tell the ANC leaders or members, he can write it down and send it by letter or say, give it to the press. He doesn't have to come to the Luthuli House to come and have riots around the Luthuli House with his supporters all around to create chaos. So I think it was okay to handle it through this system, not face to face. So I'm comfortable with what happened so far.
The NDC, the National Disciplinary Committee, had said that the former president cannot be rehabilitated. Now, when one speaks of rehabilitation, a sense of remorse or reconciliation within the African National Congress. But the fact is that he's the party leader of Umkhonto Wesizwe. Was this always a losing battle, given that already in December he had made up his mind that this is the party I'm going to lead heading into the elections?
Yes, I think from since we missed the opportunity in December to actually act swiftly against the former president, from then onwards it was damage control through and through. Because when they went to the courts about this name and all these things, press conferences, rallies, after the court cases, after him winning the court, and the MK name, of course, which is unfortunate that our MK name is now being used in this manner by the former president. For some of us who are former MK cadres, we are really disappointed with this. But this is all negligence from ANC office. If Luthuli House acted promptly on this issue of MK name, it could have been avoided. If they acted within 2 weeks of the registration of this MK party, Luthuli House, this could have been avoided. But the Luthuli House did not act swiftly. And I don't know whether it was deliberate sabotage from the Luthuli House or it was gross negligence. But it was not good either way, that they did not act swiftly to control and to make sure that our MK name is not being used in this way. And in this case now, it has been used, and most voters, some of the voters that voted, thought that they are voting for MK and ANC. In actual fact, when the MK name is hijacked by the former president. So for us, it's very unfortunate, but we don't think we should be, dragging this longer, like a bubble gum, chewing, there's no more sugar. It should be, attended to quickly, and then we focus on the country and the nation.
Yeah. Before we go to the break, whatever sugar is left in that bubblegum, I want to touch on this, Mr. Makgoale. Being an ANC veteran, the name MK, and of course, we know the significance of that very same name, and of course, the role it played in fighting the apartheid government. Does it still irk many of the veterans like yourself, the colleagues that you speak to, that this name has been taken by another political organization?
Yes, it's very painful for us that the name has been taken by another political organization, registered by another political party, serving the interest of a different political party than the original MK, which was subordinated to the ANC. Now, this MK, this current MK, is not subordinated. It's a political party independent of the ANC, outside the ANC. So for us as MK veterans, we are really disappointed, and it's hurtful for us because we fought and died under this name. Now it's been used by somebody else for different reasons. For us, we're not happy really. We still think that something could have been done to avoid our name being used in this manner, by somebody else outside the ANC. We are disappointed.
After the break, I continue my conversation with Omry Makgoale, ANC veteran. We're going to be touching on whether the ANC was held hostage by Jacob Zuma leading up to the expulsion, and the question of renewal and the ANC dealing with some ill-disciplined members or leaders. Do stay tuned to News in Focus. Welcome back to News in Focus. I'm still in conversation with Omry Makgoale, veteran of the African National Congress. Now, Mr. Makgoale, leading up to many of these discussions that would have been happening with the former president, he would, of course, come with many of his supporters within the MK party. We've seen when there have been court cases of the former president that he brings a large crowd to him. Now, how you interpret it, of course, is completely up to you as an individual, whether this is seen as hostile or non-hostile, but he was a man who drew a lot of support. Do you feel at any stage the ANC was being held hostage by the former president leading up to the events that happened yesterday?
They were held hostage. I just think that some of his supporters inside the ANC, remember that he was a leader of this faction called Radical Economic Transformation. And some of his former comrades in that faction are still inside the ANC. They are still at the Luthuli House. So some of them thought that they can persuade him, not to do this, to go astray, but they failed to persuade him. And so, but they still have connections with him. They still relate with him. They still communicate with him. So, and they tried, but I think it reached a point where we can no longer, tolerate this as the ANC. He has to be let go. He has to be, expelled from the ANC and go and run with his political party, MK party, outside the ANC. So for now, I think I wouldn't say there was any hostage. It was just that it was paralysis because some of his former comrades and close confidants are still at Lituli House, some of them. So, and this is why it was difficult maybe to attend and address this matter as swiftly as it should have been done.
Right. And leading up to that, you've just mentioned it, that there are members that were part of this radical economic transformation that still sit in Luthuli House. Dare I say they still sit within the top 7 of the African National Congress. Now, is there not a cause for concern from the ANC Veterans League's perspective that remnants of this radical economic transformation still exists within the top 7 and also within the National Executive Committee of the party? What is the discussion that the Veterans League would like to have post the expulsion of Zuma with regards to any potential renewal? And I'm going to touch on renewal in a bit. So what is the Veterans League's take with regards to that, Mr. Makgoale?
Look, I think the Veterans League, I'm not speaking on behalf of the Veterans League. I'm not an official of the Veterans League. Maybe Comrade Snooki, Comrade Mavus, and Comrade Ilka can speak on behalf of the Veterans League in the official capacity. But from where I stand at the moment, we accept that some of his comrades are still there with him, but they are aware that he has to be expelled because he has crossed the line. He has crossed the line. He has done more damage than anybody else. He has caused the ANC election vote. We lost elections. Now we are under 40%, primarily because of his political party, MK party. And even his supporters and his comrades or his friends inside the Lituli House are aware of that. And so they have to decide whether they still want to be inside the ANC or they want to join him in MK party. It's up to them. But the ANC has to move on and, move on without former President Zuma. He must be left to go to his MK political party. We no longer, of course, have a room for him in the ANC. He doesn't behave well. He didn't behave well. He showed lack of discipline from a former president. So he has been a disappointment to us because he was our leader. But also, it's a reflection that our election systems, how we elect leaders inside the ANC, our methods have not been good. And this is why we elected people who throw us into the bin like this. It's a disappointment for us.
Mr. Makgoale, let's talk about the party dealing with ill-disciplined members or leaders, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. I think on one of the other channels you said that the party lacks the courage to deal with members or leaders that don't, or the organization itself lacks the courage in dealing with these ill-disciplined members or leaders. Now, what we saw yesterday, and I know it's taken time, and you've mentioned it earlier on that this should have been done 6 months ago. But has this, to a certain extent, changed the perception of how the party is going to deal with these sort of members? I want to touch on another member of the ANC. He's no more, of course, he's out of parliament, and that's Zizi Kodwa, with regards to corruption allegations with him. But do you feel that the ANC is turning the tide with regards to this?
I think this is a step in the right direction. I would say it's a step in the right direction that they expelled former President Zuma. But as to whether now they are going to address ill discipline, swiftly in this manner, I don't know about that. I doubt if they will do it. But I wish that they should do it. But I doubt if they will do it. So it's up to them, the current leadership at the moment. As I say, his allies are still there in the NEC. His allies are still there in the Lituli House. So as to whether they are going to handle disciplinary issues in a much swift way from now onwards, I don't know, but I wish that they should do that, but I don't know if they are going to do it.
Renewal. I want to talk on that. I want to spend some time with regards to that because that has been the ANC's, word, the slogan that they've been using leading up to the elections. And even now, post-elections, they're talking about the renewal of the party. The Secretary General, Fikile Mbalula, said yesterday that the expulsion of Zuma allows for there to be a chance for the party to rebuild itself. Now, for that renewal to happen, of course, there will need to be more cleaner apples than actual rotten apples within the party. Can this happen, Mr. Makgoale? Can there be a case of this renewal that the party wants? Can it be achieved even though there are some remnants of potential rotten apples within the party?
Look, it's difficult to say it can be achieved. What I would say, we wish that it should be done. And of course, to have renewal means, changing how we used to do things in the past. In the past 30 years, for example, how we used to do things. And one of the things, of course, is how we elect leaders in the past. The method that we use to elect leaders have obviously given us rotten apples all the time. And so we need to change that method. As to whether there is a will to change this method of electing leaders, whether there's a will to renew at Little House, I doubt. I don't know. And I still have to see whether it will be done. But from the current leadership, how it has been behaving in the past since the conference, I don't see any signs of that. So I'm not optimistic about this renewal personally. I doubt if it will be done by this current leadership. But I will see. I stand to be proved wrong.
Yeah. The government of national unity is going to be probably one of those supposed methods of testing whether the ANC can actually renew itself. The elections, of course, has taught the ANC a lesson in terms of, various factors, whether they are maybe number one, out of touch with the voters, or number two, the fact that the voter role within South Africa has now changed and they see alternative political parties as speaking to them. How much does the ANC, in its efforts within the government of national unity, need to play to convince the voter, and I'm going to start off, of course, with the 2026 local government elections, that it is still a party that can appeal to the masses of South Africa?
Well, I think it's all about service delivery. The ANC employees or in the cabinet or whatever, deputy ministers and so on, what they must do is they must deliver. Service delivery. It is service delivery that will convince the ordinary voters that the ANC is now coming back to serve the people. But without service delivery, without it delivering, whether it's Eskom, Transnet, infrastructure, the roads repaired, all those things should be done. It's service delivery that will, convince the voters. But without service delivery, I don't think we'll achieve much. But I'm optimistic that this government of national unity will be better than the past, because the ANC members who are there will now be checked by opposition party members, because ANC on its own at Little House failed to make sure that people behave properly. ANC at Little House failed to make sure its employees behave properly. So now they are forced to be checked by IFP leaders, DA leaders, EFF leaders, even MK party leaders will be looking at ANC leaders, whether they are performing well as ministers or as deputy ministers. So I think they are likely to perform better than before because they are checked by opposition people to them. That's what I think will happen. So they will be better than before. In the past, it was supposed to be Lituli House that was supposed to check them, but Lituli House failed dismally to check them, failed dismally to make sure that they do the right things. So, and this is why now it's better for them to be checked by IFP or DA or other opposition leaders.
Mr. Makgoale? Thank you so much for joining us here on on News in Focus on Hilaal TV. Much appreciated.
Thank you, sir.
That's Omry Makgoale, ANC Veteran. Yes, the post-analysis of what's going to happen now, Jacob Zuma, one needs to remember he gave his life to the African National Congress. He was there underground, and a lot of the struggle would have to be attributed to him. He played his part. But of course, in the democracy that we are right now, a lot of the wrongdoing has come back to haunt him. From the arms deal to, of course, the allegations of his role within state capture. And now, of course, he's brought the ANC to disrepute according to the National Disciplinary Committee of the African National Congress. So it's going to be interesting how Jacob Zuma's separation away from the ANC on an official basis is going to happen. He's the leader of the MK party, which means he's the leader of the official opposition within the National Assembly. How his role is going to be played there from the outside, because of course, Judge John Klope is the official leader in the National Assembly. So, interesting to see how that pans out. But the ANC are talking about renewal. Well, they've got a chance to do it. And they're going to have to do it if they are to convince the voter come the local government elections in 2026 that it's a party that can still speak to its citizens and its constituencies. They have that opportunity. They now need to make it work. Well, that's all we have for you here on News in Focus. We'll be back again on Thursday. Tomorrow, of course, being Talking Point. From myself, Faraz Patel, and the rest of the team in Johannesburg, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.